Sir, Private Murphy reports the company commander has ordered.
Well, what do you know? We're being reinforced.
Wonder what Boy Scout troop they dug him out of.
All the kids are home from Sunday school. They can do everything that needs to be done today. So don't you try to get up.
Yes, sir.
We've been looking over your file. Spent the first week of basic training in the hospital. Reaction from inoculation.
Yes, sir. I never had any shots before.
Spent most of the trip over in sick bay.
Yes, sir. I never been on the ocean before.
Don't let them old soldiers eat you alive.
It was a mistake assigning you to a rifle company. I'm going to see to it that you're reassigned.
But, sir, I asked for a combat outfit. I don't want anything else.
Just a couple years older than you, I quit to go in the Marines back when we was in the big war. I never finished school either.
How did you collect all those Purple Hearts? Your rifle blow up with you?
What are you trying to do? Win yourself a wooden cross or something?
She didn't know, Audie. She was happy and proud of you and her whole family, right up to the end.
Get down! Why did you stay down? Move! Part of the fun, I'll let you talk to them!
Hey there, I think I forgot to turn the movie clip off. Were you hearing it? The feedback or something? Nope. Okay. All righty. You sound back on?
Stop.
All right. What's up? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Well, I think we've got a little bit to talk about this week. Maybe. We were talking about we needed to we were going to do a show that was like a hybrid of historical figures, actual living creatures, human beings that existed, and then some fictional heroes. This week, I think we got a crossover because the more you hear about this guy, the more you think, did this sucker exist? I mean, was he
real?
Was he freaking real?
I was watching that clip, just imagining. So he lived through the war, saw his friends get killed, and then acted in a movie where he was watching his friends get killed again.
Yeah.
We talk about PTSD.
And what was even worse, he had a massive PSTD. So he was, he said that several times in that movie, when he was doing that movie, he had trouble remembering if what was real, what wasn't. So there's a couple of times where he actually felt like he was back in combat. And he did it, Shadowpunk. Hell, what's up, dude? He was such a baby face that he could pull it off. I mean, he was in his late 20s when he did that. going to doubt that. What's that, dude? Yeah. I'm not going to doubt that one bit. No. Anyway, so, just to get the first part of it, June 19th, 1925, Mr. Audie Leon Murphy was born, and to a large family of sharecroppers, Hunt County, Texas. His father was not Father of the Year. So let's just say that much. It was the 7th of 12 children, 9 of them made it to adulthood. So that's back in those days. We had a large family just because you needed spares,
Those were tough times.
They were very tough times. Very tough times. Now, this is an interesting part. As a child, he was a loner with mood swings and an explosive temper. Okay.
PTSD before the war.
yeah. Well, but that whole thing about the whole explosive temper. When you talk about explosive temper, you're talking about somebody who, once he lost his temper, somebody was going to die. Okay, so somebody or someone was going to die. Okay, there are people like that. I've run across them, but when that temper like triggers, it's volcanic. It's almost berserker rage. And he had that from like a kid.
Yeah.
So you get a what's up from Shadowpunk. What's up? There you go. Hey man. But another thing about it was because his father was like in and out. His father was like not really into the whole fatherhood thing. And his mother was basically left to try to make ends meet. Hold on a second. You sure wasn't a Filipino or a Viking? No, he was pure Texas, boy right there. But he was evidently he took it upon himself to put food on the family table. He took it upon himself. He's the 7th of the 12 children, so there's 7 above him that could have taken over the role, but he chose to take over the role. So
in 5th grade,
right. But he was late to school, so he was actually older. He was like almost 7 in kindergarten, and then by the time he hit 5th grade, he's like, I can't have this and keep the family afloat, and so he went to pick cotton, which is not a fun job. Okay, let me share it. I know people that actually pick cotton, and that fibers get all over you. They get in your skin, and you itch all the time. And it's a miserable, miserable job. It's really hot, and you're out in that sun, and there ain't no shade. But that's how he spent his childhood, out picking cotton with his uncles, who evidently were in World War I and told all these stories of daring do. And maybe told him like supernatural stories of daring do, because the things that he thought he could do by the time he had wartime were just, things that no normal mortal would think that they were capable of. But right. He didn't have the governor in his head that said, "Hey, there's a whole company of Germans over there. Hey, let me charge them." Yeah. See what happens.
I think it's interesting that when he was younger, he was labeled as a problem child because he had a temper problem.
Right.
But that's the same like tenacity that when he got older caused him to be a hero.
Right. There's a story of him later after the war was over. He went to Hollywood, but James Cagney brought him to Hollywood because he's a good-looking kid, and he was like a real hero, and James Cagney wanted to help him out. But James wasn't that good of a businessman, so his production company went under, and it kind of left Audie stranded out there. And Meyer had him stay in his gym, and while he was in the gym, he ran across this guy who's a Golden Glove competitor. Now, you know anything about boxing at that level, Golden Glove. You can't, box Golden Glove unless you're capable of knocking somebody on their ass, okay? So this guy was evidently such a hard puncher that people wouldn't spar with him, except for this scrawny guy who kept getting in the ring with him. He was like half his size. And he's like, every once in a while, he'd slip one in on me, and I had to like show him who's boss and like knock him on his ass, and he came right back up. And he says, I didn't know who he was until we went to the locker room, and I saw him with all these scars and bullet holes and missing half his hip. And I went to the gym owner and I said, who the hell am I fighting with every day? Who am I sparring with every day? He's like, you better just be glad that's in the sparring ring, because that's Audie Murphy. if he was being serious, you probably would, you wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
And he said he went out.
You're not German.
Yeah, but that's how low key he was. I mean, he's the most popular soldier in America, and he didn't even tell this guy. The guy had to find out for himself. But yeah, that guy said he went white as a sheet. He's like, I've been trying to beat up Audie Murphy. But he said he went out and shook his hand, and they were friends, all the way to Audie's death. But anyway, we'll come to that later. Anyway, but so here he was. He's in this East Texas, it's picking cotton, and Pearl Harbor happens, and that pissed Mr. Audie Murphy off to no end, that these people would dare, fly into our space and kill our men in our hemisphere here. And he, like a lot of young men, went and tried to enlist. But the problem was he's about 5'7" or 5'5", and he's about 120 pounds soaking wet, and he's 17 years old. And so anybody see the early Captain America? That's pretty much what it was. This little. Yeah,
so was Captain America based on his life?
I didn't find any direct reference that it was, but there's too many similarities. It had to be.
Yeah, definitely seems that way.
Yeah. But yeah, he got turned down. He got turned down by the armed forces. He got turned down by all three branches that were existing at that time. And so what did he do? He went away, gained about 12 pounds of what little muscle he could develop, and came back with a lie from his sister that he was 18 years old, and he got into the Army. Okay.
Yeah, knowing him, he probably just put rocks in his pockets.
Yeah, because he was tiny. He was tiny. What you saw in that movie, reason why I showed that movie clip, I wanted to show just how small he was. That was actually Audie Murphy. That wasn't an actor playing Audie Murphy. That was freaking Audie Murphy. You see how small he was. He was small. He was slight, and he got made fun of. And I mean, but one thing they found out, when he got to basic training, he excelled in two different areas, which are very interesting. First of all, he excelled in bayonet drills. Even though he was about the size of the rifle he was wielding, he excelled in bayonet drills. So, which, his thing's about as big as he is, and but he really was good at it. And then he also excelled. When they were stationary, he was a decent shot, okay? But when things were moving, he was a better shot. Now, his sister said that they were so hungry all the time, that, and he took it upon himself to hunt, but he killed squirrels. That was the main animal that they had to eat, and if he missed, they starved. And so he didn't miss. So anybody ever see a squirrel running across the yard? He was plugging those things with his .22 rifle in a way that you could eat them. And squirrels are this big. There's like one piece of meat on those things. If you miss then they ruined the meat. So he was basically plugging them in the head.
I'm sure he missed it first, but it might have taken him a little while to get it right. But once he did, man, he got it honed in. It was an amazing shot.
Well, yeah. But it's like it's weird. It's like he was really good at leading them, and it's an odd thing that most people shoot better stationary, because all you have to do is like windage. You have to but
Right.
he shot better when they're on the run, which meant he shot better under pressure than he did when he had time to aim. Okay. So that's pretty significant. Okay. I excelled at bayonet drills when I was in the NAM. No BS. Yeah, right. Whatever. Anyway, you were never in the NAM. You're in Detroit. You're not in the NAM. Anyway, I don't know. It's pretty close. Pretty close. Anyway, so okay. So basically, first of all, he was small in his frame. He had a weird way of walking that always seemed like he was stalking, which made him hard to hit because he was already tiny to start with. Okay, he shot better on the run than he shot stationary. Hold on. You were not in the shit, Shadow Punt. Cut it out. Anyway. And he had an explosive temper. Explosive. Once that thing got triggered, let the bodies hit the flow because somebody's going to die. All right. So you combine that all together, and you got like the perfect damn soldier. Okay. And this and he was a baby face, with the pouty lips and the movie star looks, and so. It was pretty much like this really incongruous package, You expect somebody
crappy.
Yeah, you expect a soldier that's scary to be like this big muscle, You think Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone, right? But here he is. He looked like a tax accountant, and and so, but like that clip said, he spent the first. He never gotten shots before because he was in poverty, grinding poverty. Nobody was ever going to give him an inoculation, and you're grinding poverty like that. And then so he's sick from the inoculations, which back then were pretty hardcore. They were basically diminished diseases they were shoving into you. These diseases were active, but they were like diminished. But anyway. So they literally gave him the flu, but anyway. So, but then when he got out of basic training, they stuck him on this ship, and the ship went through all these storms all the way to Europe, and everybody was sick on that ship, including Audie Murphy. Like you said, he'd never been on the ship on the ocean before. He was like inland Texas. There, you don't see no ocean in inland Texas, But he gets over there, and he gets in this prototypical perfect soldier, unbeknownst to everybody, including himself. Got in with one of the best infantry groups over there, and he didn't see immediate action because it was like around Sicily, and his first kill were these two Italian officers that jumped on these horses and started riding away from them. And he just lifted his rifle to his shoulder and plugged them both. Okay. And I was given to understand that those two officers were quite a distance away. So it's basically a sniper shot. They thought they were safe, and this little curly-headed kid comes out and just, and first kills of the war, and he didn't glory in it, or he didn't like say, "Oh, I killed somebody, woo!" It actually made him sick. Yeah. So he killed squirrels before, and he killed other animals, but he never killed anybody, and he said that would stick with him the rest of the war. Right. So It's not that he was a killing machine, an unrepentant killing machine. It's just that he was very, 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 very capable of it. Okay.
Yeah. So I imagine that he's the kind of person, you know, when he's riding over, you know, everybody's sick and he's sick, you know, whatever.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I feel like he's the kind of soldier that is talking to everybody and, you know, getting everybody's take on, you know, how they're feeling about things. And I feel like he may have positioned himself to be in the right place at the right time just because he was so hungry to go after the enemy, you know?
Right.
And, you know, I don't think it was any accident that he, you know, ended up being in, you know, the best platoon.
No. Well, he basically he was like begging him for combat. He wanted to be in combat, and they stuck him and said, "Okay, you want combat? We'll stick you in this group over here that's going to see combat." And they sure did. The first thing he did, first significant thing he did after killing his officers, was he was on a scouting party. Volturno River. 2 other soldiers were ambushed. He and 2 other soldiers. German machine gun fire killed 1, and him and the other survivor killed 5 Germans with hand grenades and machine gun fire. And then he took part of an assault on the Volturno line near the Maginot Mount Lungo Hill, Maginot line, basically. He and his company repelled an attack by 7 German soldiers, killing 3, taking 4 prisoners. And he was promoted to sergeant right after that. So he was promoted to staff sergeant, but he was hospitalized with malaria. He got malaria multiple times while he was over there. He could not get rid of malaria, but he would even fight with malaria at times. If anybody, you know anything about malaria, that's not something most people would fight with, you know.
Right.
But we're finding out he's not most people. Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, but he basically they were basically, he was a platoon sergeant, Company B, returned 3rd Division Anzio, remained 4 months. While taking shelter in an abandoned farmhouse, he and his platoon killed a Crüe of passing German tank. Yeah. And he crawled out alone, close enough to destroy the tank with rifle grenades. Okay.
So my question was, you know, did he make himself just harder to hit because of the way he moved, or I mean,
evidently, because they said he had like this crouching way of walking around where he slouched down all the time. And they basically, when he went to Hollywood, they had to teach him not to do that because it looked really bad on film. They had to teach him.
Stand up.
Yeah, exactly. But it made him really hard to hit, and you know, he was just like stalking all the time. But he basically, let me see, what was the next one? But he was awarded the Combat Infantry Badge, a bronze oak leaf cluster, and they helped to liberate Rome. But the one that was really interesting, but let me see. Here we go. After landing Yellow Beach near Ramatuelle, his platoon, I'm butchering these things, but I'm not French, whatever. But they were making its way through a vineyard when the men were attacked by German soldiers. He retrieved a machine gun that had been detached from the squad, returned fire at German soldiers, killing 2, wounded 1. 2 Germans exited the house about 100 yards away, appeared to surrender. Now, this is an interesting one. His best friend responded. They shot and killed him. I can't remember what his friend's name was. I had it in my notes, but I can't find my notes. But he like lost it. Okay, he lost it. But he advanced along on the house under direct fire. Okay, they're firing at this guy, and he advanced on the house, killed 6, wounded 2, and took 11 prisoner. while they were firing at him, he advanced on the house and did his scrap. Okay. He was the 1st Battalion, August offensive. By the way, that haunted him the rest of the war. He had 2 friends, went through basic training together, and that was the second one that got killed. The first one got killed on the beach. But yeah, so he took part in and got the presidential unit citation. Okay. First Purple Heart was for a heel wound during the mortar shell. The first Purple Heart he received this late in the war. Okay, after all the crap that he'd been through, he finally got hit in the heel. It was a shrapnel blast that hit him in the heel with a shrapnel. Okay, but his first Silver Star came. Okay, he killed 4 and wounded 3 at German machine gun position. 2nd October. 3 days later, Murphy crawled alone towards the Germans, carrying a SR 536 radio, directed his men for an hour while Germans fired directly at him. Okay, he had a radio, okay, directed his men directly under fire from the Germans, directed to how to take the hill, okay, from his standpoint, right? So they're firing at him. They're not firing at his men. They're firing at him, and he's on the radio telling them where they're using. You know how he knew where the Germans were? Because they were shooting at him.
And he wasn't getting hit.
And he wasn't getting hit. But so anyway, so that basically his men finally took the hill. 15 Germans have been killed, 35 wounded. And Erfurt's action, he earned a Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster for Silver Star. Okay, battlefield commissioned to 2nd lieutenant. Okay, fifth grade education, and he is less than 2.5 years into the war, and he's already been promoted to 2nd lieutenant because of his actions on the battlefield. Right. So anyway.
So I think he's just, a scrappy, kind of guy. But I think, a big part of it was that, he lost his mother when he was 16.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to lose anybody else.
Right.
So, Pearl Harbor happened and he enlisted because he's like, I lost my mother, but, these guys aren't going to come to my neighborhood and, attack me. So I'm going after them. And I think he kept that same mentality throughout the whole war.
Right.
And when his friend got killed, that just set him off.
Yeah.
I think he experienced the loss that he did with his mother again. Yeah. And he's like, oh no. And I think he just went berserk. That anger that he had just rose up, and he's like,
I think he really, really hated Germans.
Well, after that, yeah.
He had a psychotic rage towards Germans, and he was going to kill all of them all the way back to Berlin.
Right.
I mean, he was pretty much a serial killer at that point, You see German, kill German, But it's like he was shot. Okay, why he was attacked by a German sniper group, and he captured 2 before being shot in the hip by a sniper. Returned fire, shot the sniper between the eyes. Okay, sniper shot him. He returns fire and shot the sniper between the eyes. This guy existed, guys. I'm not making this shit up. There's records. This guy did this stuff, okay? And
well, maybe he was, maybe the sniper was a good shot and he was just too fast. I don't know.
I don't know. But evidently he just turned and he got shot in the hip, and he's like, okay, he's like, son of a bitch. Boom! Between the eyes. A sniper. So, I mean, this wasn't an easy shot. He just turned and cat bursted the guy, And that cost him that shot in the hip. Because of gangrene, he lost part of his hip muscle. It kept him out of combat for a while. That kept him out of combat anyway. Bronze oak leaf cluster, Purple Heart for this injury. Okay, but we're not at the most badass thing he did yet. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not even there yet. Okay, anyway, but he was made the commander of Company B. Well, while he was waiting at reinforcements, the 26th of January, the Germans scored a direct hit on an M10 tank destroyer, setting it alight, forcing the crew to abandon it. He ordered his men to retreat positions in the woods, but he remained alone at his post, shooting an M1 carbine, directing artillery fire via the field radio while Germans fired directly at his position. Okay. He mounted the abandoned burning tank destroyer. Its thing's on fire. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's on fire, but he hops up there and gets into the machine gun, the 50 caliber machine gun, and started firing at the Germans, killing the squad, crawling through the ditch towards him. Okay. For an hour, Murphy stood on the flaming tank destroyer, returning German fire from foot soldiers and advancing tanks, killing or wounded 50 Germans. He sustained a leg wound during his stand, stopped only after he ran out of ammunition. Okay, we're not done yet. He rejoined his men. He crawled over to where his men were, disregarding his own injury, and led them back to repel the Germans, insisting on remaining with his men while his wounds were being treated. For that, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, and his 3rd Infantry Division got the Presidential Unit Citation. So, and he was promoted to 1st Lieutenant, and got a Legion merit from the French for that. Okay. Okay,
I get George Patton, leading his troops, and the troops going in and causing all havoc.
Right.
But this guy told his troops to go hide.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. You guys go get safe.
No, I get this. Y'all go get something to eat. It's only 50, no problem.
And he's like in a burning tank destroyer. This thing's on fire. And he's firing at these guys. Kills 50 of them. Let's count that up. Okay. And 50 by himself. And he only stopped after he ran out of ammunition. And then what did he do? Did he go crawl away to safety? No, he crawled over to his men and he's like, okay, I got him softened up. Let's push him back. So he's limping back and directing them back. By the way, he was directing artillery at that time with a radio. I didn't see it there, but I read it elsewhere. That at the whole time. Okay. And one of the things he said was, let me get the exact quote. Okay. This is one of the baddest things. I gotta get this exact quote. Okay. But they were asking, they're asking where was the Germans located? And he says, well, give me a minute and you can ask them yourself. He said that. That is factual. He said that. The men on the other end of the radio wrote it down because it was the most badass thing they'd ever heard. Because he's like, where are they located? Give us the coordinates. He's like, well, give me a minute and you can ask them yourself. So in other words, they're on top of me.
Right.
He's basically giving them his position, to direct their fire.
Right.
While he's on a flaming tank, while he's firing a 50 caliber machine gun, and by the way, covering his men's retreat. Okay, well, you're done for the day, right, Audie? No. Let me crawl back here, rally my troops, and we'll push him out.
So I think the difference between him and Captain America is he, didn't take a serum and become a super soldier. He just had that
Yeah,
spirit in him.
yeah,
He was still, 5'5", 5'6", whatever,
right.
but his spirit was 10 feet tall.
Well, but the thing about it is, though, it wasn't somebody who was swaggering. It wasn't somebody who did it out of some sense of, oh, I'm better than you, or oh, I'm a
Right.
bigger man than you. This was a guy who remained humble his whole entire life. People didn't know he was Audie Murphy. He would walk among them, and they didn't know it was him because he never told people who he was. They found out from other people, but he never told people who he was.
Right.
And he would be hanging out with a bunch of soldiers, smoking cigarettes and chewing the fat, and then somebody would be like, "Are you Audie Murphy?" but
Oh yeah, there's no big deal.
oh yeah, I'm Audie Murphy, no big deal.
Yeah, two Purple Hearts, whatever.
Right. But just like we were talking about how they used Baron von Richthofen, the Red Baron, is their like rallying point. The supernatural soldier that they would rally behind. In Russia, there was a guy named Vasily Zaitsev who was a sniper, who he was their supernatural soldier that they kind of rallied around. He was like an incredible sniper, but they like really built him up into a legend. But in America, it was Audie Murphy, and everybody knew Audie Murphy. Everybody he was kind of like that legendary, because
Right.
these guys are like reading these accounts, and it's almost like a superhero was among them. Okay, because I'm reading this stuff to you guys, and it sounds like I'm making it up. It sounds like I'm writing this stuff, but there's congressional records of all of it. Congressional records. There's like references of all this stuff. He was basically, though, at one point, he basically oh, here it is. This is great. When he was asked why he seized the machine gun and took on an entire company of Germans, he replied, "They were killing my friends."
Yeah.
And he couldn't handle that. So
yeah. And at some point, he told the soldiers to, if our people die, don't leave them face down so that I don't see who it is.
Yeah.
Because I can't handle.
I don't want to know who it was. Yeah. I mean, people like this, it makes you kind of realize just what we've lost as humanity, as Americans, just what we've lost in the fact that I think we're going to gain some of it back, because I think we're heading into a Great Depression, and if this is the kind of man that's going to be bred out of that, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know, but you read some people like this, and there's something uniquely American about him. There really is. But he was offered West Point after they were going to put him in West Point, probably heading to being a general. But he never enrolled. He suggested the idea and then dropped it when he realized the extent of academic preparation that would be needed to pass the entrance exam. And he had a fifth grade education. In other words, this guy's the most heavily decorated soldier in World War II, but he didn't want to go to West Point because they would require him to do homework. He's like, I've been to hell and back. Isn't that enough for me to be in West Point? No, the bean counters have got to have W-2s or whatever. I don't know. The SATs. You got to do an SAT or something. I don't know. But anyway, but he was reassigned and kind of like given permission to travel anywhere United States. He became like did all these speeches and stuff. Discharged rank of first lieutenant, 50% disability classification. I mean, 50%. 50. They are really stingy with those percentages. So he must have really been damaged to get 50%. We know that he's missing most of his hip muscle.
Right.
And like I said earlier, that gymnasium, that guy saw him in the locker room after he'd been beating on this guy for months, and him not giving him any quarter. And then he's like, sees out all these scars and stuff and missing half of his hip muscle. He's like, who the hell have I been sparring with? Audie Murphy. Holy shit. You know?
Yeah, I imagine all the bullets that, flew around him, some of them I'm sure probably hit,
Yeah, right.
And he still kept going. And, he had the whole hip, was gone.
Right.
But, I'm sure he had, some maybe not bullet wounds where it penetrated, but, grazed him, or,
right.
Shrapnel blew up, messed up his heel. But, I'm sure there were other, shrapnel hits that he had that, weren't reported.
Oh, I'm sure. But and he wasn't the kind that would report it.
Right.
I mean, you got somebody like John Kerry who reported every hangnail and got Purple Hearts, and then became a congressman off of that. But this guy right here, he wasn't the kind that was going to report. It was like, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, it's just shrapnel. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's just dig it out. Well, I got.
Don't we have some more Germans to fight?
Yeah, I got some more Germans to kill, basically. Anyway, but yeah, so he goes back and he was like, basically, he told his family when he left for war that I'm going to come back and I'm going to build a house for all of us to live. And that's what he did. He came back and he gathered his family, including younger siblings who were sent to like live in foster system when his mother died, which killed him. It killed him because he couldn't provide for him. But he came back, and because he's Audie Murphy and he does all these appearances and stuff, he managed to get enough money to buy a house for them. Then James Cagney saw him in an interview and said, "Damn, that's a good-looking kid. That's Audie Murphy." And he's like, "Hey, man, you come do some movies." So, he really had no other future career prospects, so he went out and did movies, right?
Yeah, as if being a war hero, the most decorated American alive, wasn't enough.
No. He had to have another mountain to climb. He had to have nothing to accomplish. So.
And then, writing a best-selling book about his time over there wasn't enough.
Right. No. Not for this guy. He's just like, bestseller? Okay, well, whatever. All I did was just tell what happened to me,
Right. No big deal.
No big deal. For the fifth grade education, let me write a bestseller. No big deal. But they had to teach he basically went into like acting school, and they taught him to lose that slouch, where he had to walk with his back straight, because that slouch just bothered the shit out of him. It kept him alive in the war, but Hollywood couldn't have that. He had to,
Right.
So he lost that, and they had to diminish his accent. Because he was evidently so Texan that you could barely understand what he's saying. So they got him that Midwest accent or whatever.
I heard some of the interviews with his family members, and his accent is pretty thick.
Yeah. He had that drawl, man. That drawl. And he was natural for basically Westerns, because Westerns were huge at that time, but he was a natural for Westerns. but he also did Red Baggage Badge of Courage, which failed at the box office, but now is a kind of acknowledged as one of the best adaptation of that book. But it was his first really starring role. But he kind of struggled in movies for a little while. Had some breakout roles, and people were like, he's really good, had a really awesome screen presence. I seen him in Destry and Destry Rides Again. And it's funny because he just looks so cute. He's just cute. I mean, a little pouty lips, a little curly hair. I mean, it doesn't look badass. I mean, you look at this guy, there's no part of him that says badass. None. Right. But
he was, hard chiseled, jawline and
right.
The deep sultry voice wasn't there.
No. In fact, he spoke with a kind of higher register. It wasn't effeminate in no shape or form, but it was more of a tenor, Right. And speaking of tenors, he wrote country songs, hit country songs. So yeah, he did that.
As if the Hollywood career wasn't enough.
No, yeah, you're right. Let me see if I write some country songs. So he wrote some
poetry and some country songs too.
Right, yeah. So he had a publishing career. He had one vice. He liked to gamble, and a lot of people think that was part of the PTSD. Because PTSD kind of keeps you in this heightened, sense of awareness, and that can really wear on a person. So you kind of look for thrills to kind of like take the edge off of it, And he suffered from PTSD in a way that very few people have suffered. He lost his first marriage because he slept with a pistol under his pillow, and he almost shot his wife a couple times. And he was he couldn't sleep through the night, and when he did sleep through the night, it was nightmares, and nightmares where he got violent. So we're talking about somebody who was really, really suffering from it. And what did he do? They're going to adapt my book. Let me star in it. And it wasn't even his idea to star in it, so they begged him to star in it. And so he starred in a movie of his own life because he still looked like he was 17 years old in his 30s, So, well, he was his late 20s, but he still looked like he was 17. And so he starred in his own biopic. How badass is that? Okay, and this man still had extraordinarily acute PTSD, and he starred in his own biopic where they were blowing shit up around him and
reenacting the scenes that he lived through.
Exactly.
In real life.
Exactly. And
it caused his PTSD.
It caused his PTSD, and here he is. He's like, I can't sleep at night because he's hearing these explosions, and here he's like. But he did that movie because he wanted to make sure people knew the people that he served with, because he was so important to him that they knew that there were that he wasn't the only hero over there, and he made sure that movie portrayed the people around him as just as important as he was. But of course it was a box office hit. It was one of the biggest box office hits of the time. I think Universal Pictures at that time. Right. But it was a massive, massive hit. I mean, why not? I mean, you get to see the biggest legend coming out of World War II starring in a movie which depicts those legendary feats. Right. That line gets me. Where are the Germans located? Well, give me a minute and I'll let you ask them. What?
Hey, Carmen, where are you located?
We got a visitor right here. What's up, Pig?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, man, no problem. Little late.
How's it going, man?
No big deal. We're just talking about utter badassery. That is Audie Murphy.
For real.
Yeah. So I take it you heard about him when you were in the service, maybe a few times.
Oh, you can't help but everybody wants to wants to be part of the Audie Murphy Club, and there's actually an award.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and it's an elite group. Like these are soldiers who are squared away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about the tank destroyer that he manned to cover his friend his company's retreat. You know, he told him go, I've got this, and he's like on a burning tank destroyer.
Yep.
Shooting a 50 caliber at the Germans, directing. But meanwhile, on the radio, directing, artillery fire.
Uh-huh.
We were just talking about that line, where the Germans located. Give me a minute, and I'll let you talk to them.
Right.
I mean, it sounds like I'm making this shit up. It really does, but I'm not. I'm not making any of it up.
No, and he absolutely despised Hollywood war films at the time.
Right.
And that's why when I see things like Band of Brothers or Letters from Iwo Jima,
right,
and the like, I'm like, yeah, Audie Murphy would approve of these movies because they're gruesome.
Right. Yeah, well, the movies
true.
that he was starring in or the movies that were like in Hollywood at that time just made all glory and no grit,
Right.
That's why he starred in the Red Badge of Courage, because he wanted a more realistic, gritty film, and that he liked the script on that one. But yeah, he started his own. We're talking about he's got PTSD and he's starring in depicting the very scenes that gave him that PTSD.
Right.
And, but yeah, he suffered from PTSD his whole entire life. But the thing that separated him from everybody else is he talked about it.
Yeah.
And because most people were afraid to talk about it because it would make them sound like they weren't courageous, that they were like wimps or whatever. But who's going to call Audie Murphy a wimp?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he cared what he looked like or what people thought of him. He's just I don't care if my company doesn't like going back, go back. I've got this.
Right.
It's 50-1, but I don't care. I think he had that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many?
Anybody else thought
he took like that whole platoon of Germans hostage just by himself.
11 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was injured too. Anyway, but what got me though is after he got injured in the leg, but he stayed there until he ran out of ammo, and then he goes and rallies his men to come back and drive the Germans back. After he softened them up, he went and got his men.
Yeah, but, he's like, all right, guys, I softened them up for you.
Yeah, seriously, can you imagine those guys would have followed him into the gates of hell itself with water pistols?
Yeah.
Yes.
How could you not? I mean, most of the time when you don't want to follow orders, it's because the guy's a dickhead and he's never fought anything or gone anywhere. But this guy's like fought your battle for you, softened up the enemy, and then he's like coming to get you, and he's like, okay, I can't do this by myself. You guys want to help me out? Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, and I loved his point about the Hollywood depiction of war, that it was better to have these gory, bloodfest movies,
right,
to better prepare your soldiers, for what they're going to see over there. And I saw that myself when because I did a tour in Iraq, and we were quite busy in 2004 to 2005.
Yeah. A little bit conflict.
Yeah, and we were a lot better prepared than most.
Mm-hmm.
We encountered a lot. I personally did over 200 combat missions, and 30% of the time we met contact with the enemy.
Right.
So you can do math on that.
Yeah.
And I've personally had, where there were like 20-hour engagements where we were just running around full physical exertion for 20 plus hours. Then we sneak back. Someone else replaces us on the front while we get a half-assed nap.
Yeah.
And then we're right back into it.
Right.
And, 1-8 Cav went out there, and in the true spirit of Audie Murphy, they delivered. They delivered. There's a I think it's Frontline or Dateline or one of those, right? Programs. Now you can go look it up. It's called A Company of Heroes.
Yeah.
And it's about our Delta company.
Right. Oh.
Not Delta as in Delta Force.
Yeah.
But Delta as in Company D. Right.
Yeah. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Yeah.
Right. I was an Alpha. Right. And I can't watch it. I can't watch it. It's just too sad for me because it's
right.
What happens there is I lose one of my best friends.
Wow.
So I don't watch it, but I do recommend others watch it because it's very interesting because I'm still friends with like the majority of those guys.
Right.
Like one of our captains, I know this is like a little bit of a tangent, but one of our captains actually had a price on his head.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what the price was on Audie Murphy by the end of the war.
Oh, probably very high.
Sure.
He's probably worth more alive than dead, even.
Well, I know Richtofen had a price on his head. And I know Patton had a price on his head.
Yep. Well, that often happens, when somebody stands out on the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. William Tecumseh Sherman had two quotes about war that I'm sure Audie Murphy would have probably would have known. And one of them is, "I'm tired and sick of war. Its glory is all moonshine. It's only those who have never fired a shot, nor heard the shrieks and groans of the wounded who cry aloud for more blood and for vengeance, for desolation, because war is hell." And that's William Tecumseh Sherman. He also said that the worse the war is, the sooner it ends. So if it's not bad enough, you need to make it worse so they'll end it. Which is his philosophy. So you got Audie Murphy. He's like did everything. He did a country song. He's actually charted country song. So it's not like a fringe hit. He actually had a big country song. He also did poetry. He was a published author, all this on a 5th grade education. He was an accomplished movie star for a little while. He's a box office name, up there with John Wayne. And then he also evidently bought a farm and was basically raising quarter horses, championship quarter horses at one point. But he lost most of it because he couldn't stop gambling, which is pretty much his only, which basically was his only vice, but it was a huge, huge vice. And so a lot of people think that's why he decided to hop on a flight for a business opportunity that crashed into the side of a mountain in Roanoke, Virginia.
Yep.
And let's see, when was that? Let me look it up.
And there's a bit of a conspiracy over there.
Oh,
May
really?
1971.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, 71. Right. Yeah, there's a conspiracy theory, really?
There is a conspiracy theory surrounding that.
Oh,
because he was so popular. It's popular warriors. Popular warriors don't have long life expectancies after the war is done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How did he get through the war? All the battle that he saw, all the shots that went towards him. and then he dies in a plane crash.
The plane crash was a little odd in that the pilot was didn't seem to know how to fly his own plane. I saw where that was like they're like why is this guy not cleared on this equipment flying this plane?
Right.
And he flew into foggy conditions, which no experienced pilot would have done. They basically flew in fog and hit the side of the mountain. So,
well, especially since the technology wasn't there. Like, it's funny that our small planes, your personal aircraft, like a little Cessna, has a much better tech package than your commercial airliners did at the time.
Right.
And because I have a friend who he retired out of the U.S. Army, retired with honors, and he one of the things he did was he went and got his pilot's license.
Right.
Well, he went and took a good 2-year-long vacation where he got a pilot's license, and then he took a motorcycle tour across America.
Right. Wow. It's a little because to make up for the lack of instrumentation, a plane would have had a what's called a floor. They wouldn't have gone below that floor because the floor would have been about a half a mile above the highest peak in between in the flight path. And so he was way below his floor to crash into the side of the mountain. So, I mean, I can see where people would think there's a conspiracy, especially since he was anti-war at the time. Yeah. And he was a very outspoken critic of Vietnam. So, hey, I'm not doubting that the kind of shenanigans that were going on to keep Vietnam, to keep the monies rolling into pockets around Vietnam, might have caused some murders. I don't know. But this is a different show. That's kind of a conspiracy. So
hint, hint, Justin. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint, hint. There's another conspiracy we were talking about earlier. I can't remember. But
we keep bringing up these conspiracies.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like Patton dies in a car accident. In Berlin.
Well, we look at Patton, we look at Vasily, we look at Krishnikov. We look at these heroes. We look at Audie Murphy. We look at these heroes of World War II.
Right.
And how they just conveniently got Minecraft.
Yeah. Right. So let's look at let's assess his ratings, as it were. So now that we've summed him up pretty much, let's take a look at this card back there, Todd. I saw it earlier. It's a thing of beauty. He's really put on the dog today. There we go. Check that out.
All right.
That is awesome. I want this card. Anyway. Okay. Strength. Not very strengthy. He was wiry, but he wasn't like a muscle man. I would say speed. We could probably raise his speed some because he was fast.
Strength is okay where it is?
Yeah, let's keep strength where it is, I'd say. As he's not known for like feats of strength.
Give him another pip of speed.
Yeah, definitely give him another pip of speed. Yeah. Agility, give him another pip on agility because he was a mongoose. So yeah, we'll definitely give him more agility there. Now, fighting ability, give him a 10.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Supernatural ability to survive combat.
Yeah, let's max that one out. Let's max that one out.
We're making these guys larger than life, even though this guy was larger than life. So I know that's
fighting ability.
Yeah. Give us about 4 more stars. So Yeah.
Like 10 more stars.
Leadership seems about right, because if his leadership ability was better, he would have had more people standing there with him.
No, I'm going to say leadership by example. I'd say he was a hellacious leader by example. So I'd say we'll give him about a 7 there. About 2 more pips on that one.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, we'll give him about 2 more pips on that.
He was a great soldier, but I'm not sure he was a great leader.
Yeah, well, I'm with Todd on that one. Let's make it a 6 then.
6, yeah, okay, compromise. Yeah, we'll compromise. We'll say 6 on that one. Yeah.
Like I said, if he was a better leader, his soldiers would have been there with him. Although he it's amazing. The guy went green to gold. That's what we call it in the Army when you go from enlisted to commissioned.
Yeah, and he did it faster than probably anybody else in history. But it was all battlefield commissions,
the Audie Murphy Award, which is done by board, right? Yeah. So you have a council sitting over you as they bombard you with questions. They have you do some drilling ceremony, and they go over your record, and you have to have an exemplary record.
Yeah.
Exemplary. And it is one of the few things that both the accolades that both enlisted and commissioned officers can achieve.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Intelligence, I'd say he was very, very smart. He might not have been book smart, but he's a published author. He wrote country songs.
That's true.
He had at the very least,
3, 4, 5.
he was able to assess battlefields better. They said he had an innate sense of terrain, that he literally could take a look at and tell you where all the warriors of the opposing warriors were. He could look at a field and tell you where they were hiding.
Well, and I would say that plays into his fighting ability. Is his ability to be tactical.
Tactical ability. He was on the charts. Yeah. When you see, and he didn't miss. Okay. Even with a 50 caliber machine gun, he didn't miss. That's a limited capacity of ammo. So he's sitting here for a half an hour firing a 50 cal machine gun, killed 50 soldiers with that. That's a lot of gas for like very few bullets. So that's incredible. But among other things, it's pretty incredible. Okay, you guys feel comfortable with where we're at?
I think so. I think it stands up. Yeah. I think he does peak out in the fighting ability as far as like what is naturally human.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was telling him, I was like, we were like saying, we're gonna like do Archangel next week, but because we want to get like superheroes as well as normal humans. But this guy's a crossover because he was a superhero. I mean, he literally was a superhero.
Definitely.
As a matter of fact,
he was almost superhuman, and it's weird.
Yeah. He pushes the limits of what you consider humanly possible. It makes you think that Rambo 2 is real. Okay. Because you see these movies and it's like nobody hit that guy. He's sitting there like just firing at him and nobody hit him, and it's like, well, that's not practical. But then it's like Audie Murphy. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Audie Murphy. But this guy would literally stand there, them firing on his own, his own position, and he was like use the twinkling lights of them firing at him to tell his men where to fire over the radio.
Yeah, well, that's what you do. You look for the way, and we still use that. We use that in modern day military training. Is that you look for the
people use themselves as the decoy though.
Yeah, well, you use it. You call it. It's called weapon signature, right?
Right. Yeah, but I mean, somebody's like, "Hey, I'm here. Oh, there's bullets. There's bullets. Yeah, that's where they are." I mean,
yeah,
that's nuts. That's nuts. Anyway, so that's been Audie Murphy. That has been definitely a hell of a show there. But do we have the Rick Toffin card to show off? You got that finished, Tank?
No, I'll have that done by the end of the weekend.
All right.
I've been trying to balance that and getting my book done, which is overdue.
Right.
I'm supposed to be releasing it on the 15th. So, and I'm trying to line up shows to go on. Because it's not a crowdfund, it'll be available from my Gumroad.
Right.
For the low price of $2.
Okay,
so,
all right. This is what we got so far on that one.
Got so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was at my computer right now. I'd show you. I've Baron's all inked up.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I'll drop that in the private group later.
All right, no problem. But yeah, that's the Rick Toffin card. You've already seen the General Patton card from the
week I'm gonna add a dog fight with some biplanes back here in the background.
Right. Yeah. These cards are just gonna be awesome. People are gonna want these things.
I put in his Volker D1.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, that triplane. That he liked so much that ultimately was the end of him because it was a complete piece of junk.
Yeah. Well, but it looked like a dragon coming in on you. So
well, it did. It looked imposing. It was very stylish for the day. But sadly, it was more style than substance. His previous biplane was a far superior machine.
Albatross, was a way better flyer. Those Fokker D1s could fly. They could climb and dive better than any other plane, but maneuverability side to side was just shot. That extra airfoil kind of like messed with the ability to like maneuver, but he was so good that it didn't really seem to matter with him. But Red Baron's a Red Baron for a reason. Just a legend. These men, think about it is, so you look at these men that we've done so far, there just seem to be some commonalities there. They all were headstrong, young. Mm-hmm. They're all independent. They all had temper problems, behavior problems. Okay, did not like to be told what to do. All three of them. All three of them basically got into combat young. That had that desire for combat, and they all three acquitted themselves very, very, very well doing so. It just seems to be a type of man that it becomes legendary. It seems to be something
that drive, that passion.
Yeah. That character. But all three of these men, they have the aspect of none of them were arrogant about it. Patton was beloved by his men. They loved the old man. They would go to hell for him. Manfred, his flying circus, they followed him anywhere. Even though he was a loner, they just followed him everywhere he went. And Audie Murphy was, they said on the movie sets, he was not friends with the actors. He was friends with the grips and the stuntmen.
Yep.
He hated Hollywood. He hated the actors and pretentious people. And it was like he'd rather hang out with the soldiers than hang out with the generals.
Just that down to earth.
Right.
Guy.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't be in an officers club, you know. He'd probably be over there in the barracks with the guys playing cards, you know. Even as a first lieutenant, you know. But
Right.
but there does seem to be that. There seems to be that commonality where they were very unpretentious. They were very down to earth. They didn't view themselves as being superior to anybody. I guess Tank must have dropped, but yeah, and it seems like this glory, this you know, legendary status.
Right.
It seems to like come out of who they are as people, and even though it was been pointed out, Richtofen and both Richtofen and Patton came from privileged backgrounds.
Yes.
They wound up the same, you know, the same kind of unpretentious person as Audie Murphy came from, like mind-numbing, grinding poverty. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all wound up like all changing the face of the world around them.
Yeah. And I think Richtofen was more about the accolades than you know, either Patton or Audie Murphy.
Right.
I think Audie Murphy couldn't care less about, you know, getting a Purple Heart or a Gold Star or anything.
It's funny.
He just wanted to go fight.
You see him with his uniform on, and he's got like all this stuff like placed there, and it looks like somebody else must have placed it there because he's just like sitting there like, yeah, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Because he's got like his whole lapel, and it's like, you know. He's like Millie, but you know, with actual accomplishments to back it up. Anyway, but I think at the end of the day, I think we can learn something. You know, if you're going to write a character, or you're going to put a character out there into the world that's supposed to be heroic, following these qualities, and maybe imbuing your character with these qualities is not a bad move to make. You know.
These are some good examples to go.
Oh, definitely.
Research and
definitely,
you know, pattern some of your you know, character traits after.
Yeah, I definitely. I think Ironsides definitely has a little Audie Murphy in him, a little bit. Probably a good dose of Patton too. Because there's it's funny when I went to write Ironsides, and he started like giving orders out. You know. He would like change the order, the way he gave orders to, depending on the person he was talking to. And it's like some of them that he would just give a direct order to, you know, jump to it, you know, go do it. This other guy who he knew wouldn't take orders for no reason, he just basically said, you know, I heard this about you, you know, but I doubt it, you know. I don't think that's possible, you know. It's like, whatever, you know. And the guy's like, I'll prove it, you know. And then you got, you know, it's just like different for different people. But I think it's really interesting if you see parallels between your characters and some of these guys that we're talking about.
I was reading about Audie Murphy, and you know, my character, my protagonist, is, you know, kind of that you know, scrappy, you know, bullheaded kind of person, and I'm thinking as I'm, you know, reading about Audie Murphy, you know, what would my character do in this situation?
Well, I don't know where the quote came from, but the quote is courage is basically cowardice hanging on for another minute longer.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, one of the guy hates it when I bring this up, so I won't insert him by name. But I know one dude who, before his first hard breach, he crapped himself and carried through with the mission.
Right.
And I was like, "You're the bravest person I've ever met."
Yeah.
Because you found your limit and you said no.
Right.
And he did it anyway.
That quote was actually from Patton. I just realized it was from Patton. So there you go. But yeah, I think that's the thing. What true courage is not, you know, moving into a situation with confidence. It's moving into a situation with sheer this, being completely uncomfortable with the situation, but doing it anyway because it has to get done, and moving beyond yourself to, finding something beyond yourself to go to. I think one of the problems with modern man is that we've lost that ability to find that next gear, where we've reached the limit of ourselves and we're like, oh well, I guess this is the end. But these men like this, like Audie Murphy, like Patton and Richthofen, when they got to that end of themselves, they're like, all right, let me jump off and see where this lands. Okay, I'm here at the edge of the cliff. Instead of turning away from the cliff, I jump off. I do Geronimo. I do a cannonball. Yep. Let's see where this goes. Let's see how far down this goes. That quality is something that
just keep pushing until the job's done.
Oh, definitely. Yep. And I hope to find that in my own life and my own, I think I get inspired by people like this. I get inspired by stories like this. And it's like, okay, what's my excuse, right? I mean, this dude's like fighting off a whole entire German front to protect his men, and calling in, like, making that statement. Oh, you want to know where the Germans are? Okay, well, give me a minute and I'll let you ask them. I mean,
yeah. And I think what kind of hits me is that, Audie Murphy, is, the most decorated soldier and all that, but there've been, thousands of other soldiers that have done similar, similar feats and, gone unrecognized.
Right.
And, how many people are out there, how many, soldiers or, people fighting for our freedom,
right,
that, don't get the Purple Heart or the Gold Star.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there was men that basically went into Afghanistan after we pulled out and got some people out.
Yeah.
The government took credit for them, but they were completely apolitical, completely outside the government. It was a bunch of former SEALs and Green Berets and
Yeah. Well, they're the same. They're the same people who, after we pulled out of Iraq, they went back and fought with the Peshmerga against the Wahhabi insurgents.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we don't really. I mean, there's more to this world than is dreamt in our, that we even know about, but
yeah, exactly.
Heroism is heroism, and I think we can all find heroism in ourselves. Like the young man in Indiana who saw a guy shooting up the mall, pulled a pistol out, and from pretty much the distance of a sniper rifle, shot him point blank and shot him through the head, and saved all those people and never got credit for it. And then, matter of fact, got guffed for having a pistol in the place where he wasn't supposed to have a pistol.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in now, where heroism's like discouraged as well. I wanted to shake that guy's name, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
That kid.
No, and they still the wokies still demonize him, even though it's proven beyond reasonable doubt that this guy was acting in self-defense, and he used every other recourse ahead of that.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, that breaks my heart that he was he went there just to help a friend, protect their business, and ended up having to use deadly force.
He was protected. The reason why they got mad at him was because he put out a fire in a dumpster that they rolled towards a gas station.
Yep.
Where people were congregated.
Yep.
We would be having an entirely different conversation if he hadn't used that fire extinguisher. And when they came at him he shot just the 3 that attacked him, and just enough to make sure that they were no longer threats. And in a crowd that was chasing him, he only shot the ones that attacked him, and he shot them in such a way that he didn't do any collateral damage. I had a friend of mine who's a Green Beret that said that if he would be asking that kid to join the service,
real,
because that was that kind of gun control. I mean, that kind of self-awareness and gun control and level-headedness is just
target acquisition and trigger discipline.
Exactly.
They are wonderful things.
Yep.
Yeah. But we got people trained to do stuff like that, and it's just like it's in the world right now. But Audie Murphy would not be considered a hero in today's world, I'm afraid, and that really bothers me. It stirs me deeply. But I have a hunch that he wouldn't be considered the hero that he is now, if this had happened now,
Yeah.
But it is what it is. That's just observation from the Cooper here. Anyway, next week we're going to do Archangel. We're not going to put it up to poll. He finished like 3 weeks in a row at second position, so we're just going to go ahead and give him his day. Warren Worthington III started out Angel, became Archangel. And that's who we're going to do next week. Fascinating individual. We're probably going to cut it off at the modern age. We're probably going to cut off his biography story around 2016 because we don't consider anything that's happened after 2016 canon. So anyway,
I don't even know anything after 2016.
We don't even know anything after 2016.
I honestly don't know anything after 97. So
yeah, there you go. Well, you're gonna learn a little bit more. Anyway, so that's gonna be next week. Anyway, that has been the 3 T's. Todd, Tank, and T Buddy. This show has been What's the Story, and we just talked about what's the story on Audie Murphy. The story is this guy's a freaking hero. Look him up if you don't know. Anyway, or watch this show, rewatch this show, show it to your kids or whatever. Hopefully we're the kind of show that gets rewatched like that. That's our fondest wish. Anyway. But that's been the show, and y'all have a very good night. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Charlie Mike until Mike Charlie.